Hello, my name is Calth, and today we are going to talk about the Horus Heresy Betrayal at Calth. And no, we're not talking about the cardboard thing with plastic in it. No. We are talking about a VR game, Warhammer 40,000's first VR game, as it is being advertised in several places, VentureBeat being one of them. And, I cannot work out who the hell this is aimed at. I'm going to tell you why I think this thing is going to crash and burn. And that sounds harsh, and I know that sounds harsh. So before we go into it, I just want to say I'm not passing judgment on the game itself, okay? I'm not saying that the game itself is going to be bad. I'm not going to say that the game itself is going to look awful or play awful or perform badly, you know, in terms of glitches or bugs or whatever. I'm passing no judgment on the actual game itself. Same thing with the developers, Steel Wool Studios. I'm not familiar with their work. I'm not going to pass judgment on them because I don't know what they do. I've had a quick look and they seem to focus on VR titles, which makes sense, but in terms of the quality of their work, I can't speak for that. What I can speak on is a fair amount of time and experience, both playing and reporting on and looking at PC games and gaming in general, and Warhammer 40k. And in fact, we don't even need to really qualify it with that, because all this comes down to, for me, is, I was going to say the law of averages, but I don't think that's the correct phrase. I don't think that's the right term. Let's put it this way. So, I remember when VR came out, right? Not when VR first came out, but when we had the big VR revolution a couple of years ago. Everyone was talking about the Vive, everyone was talking about the Oculus Rift, and how VR was going to be coming to the masses, you know? We were going to start seeing VR in homes everywhere. It was about to become consumer technology. The first production cycles went through, Vives were shipped, and generally speaking, it was pretty damn cool. I mean, I spent quite a bit of time messing about in VR one way or another, and I found the experience to be very interesting, to be very fun, to be very entertaining. There were issues with VR that I believe are still not fixed. I mean, for me, the cost of it, I mean, prohibitively expensive. And if you didn't have a top-of-the-line PC, you basically had to upgrade your PC to be able to run the Vive sufficiently anyway. So the cost was ludicrous for what it was. There's also, I mean, this is obviously not a blanket statement, but I personally, and I know many other people who did, have issues with things like movement. So whilst the technology was impressive, and whilst it did feel like you've been transplanted into a virtual world, movement was garbage. But having to point and click to move from one place to another and just teleporting around did a tremendous amount to shatter the illusion that you were in another reality, in a virtual reality. It felt like you were there until you suddenly started hopping about like a wizard, at which point you probably didn't feel like you were there. Movement was always an issue for VR. And, I mean, in some ways, companies try to fix it by producing games whereby you could have the headset but still use a standard controller. That worked for some people, absolutely doesn't work for me. I cannot play those games because as soon as I start walking and start moving my head around, I get this horrendous disconnect between what my body's doing and what my face is doing, and just immediately become like almost projectile vomit motion sick. I just can't do it. I have to stop immediately. Obviously not everyone suffers from that issue, but I know quite a few people who do, and I'm assuming it's not like a completely unheard of issue with VR itself, just movement not being great. There's also the fact that there was never really that killer app for VR. There was never that thing that came out and everyone went, I absolutely have to try this. I must try VR because of this one thing. It just didn't really happen. Since then, VR in some respects has got a little bit cheaper, but things like the Vive and the Oculus are still kind of expensive. The lineup of games, whilst there's a lot more of them, it doesn't feel like there's been that much change from what we saw from initial lineups, to be honest. There's a lot of very similar point and, stand and shoot, teleport and shoot, teleport over there, solve a puzzle, teleport somewhere else. It doesn't feel like the genre of VR games has really leapt ahead, so to speak, or has really kind of come to terms with and worked out how best to use the technology itself. As a result, VR is a niche within PC gaming. PC gaming is not small, not by any means, it's huge. PC gaming has become a massive part of gaming as a whole, and VR is a very, very small fraction of PC gaming. Now, what you need to do there is take that bit of information and then add the following. Warhammer 40,000, whilst it'd be nice to think it's some sort of global titan, is nowhere near on the same scale as PC gaming, obviously. Within the sphere of PC gaming, if you want to produce some sort of imaginary Venn diagram, Warhammer 40,000 is not just the same circle. Warhammer 40,000 is a much smaller circle, and there is a crossover, as there always is with this stuff. Within that 40k kind of circle, there is the smaller circle of the Horus Heresy. Now, I know what you're thinking. This one is not so much smaller. Like, it's not like only a tiny number of people care about the Horus Heresy. That's not true. A significant number of people within the 40k fan base really love the Horus Heresy stuff. But it's not all of them. So there is a reduction there as well. Regardless of how good this game is, regardless of how well it's made, regardless of how fantastic the studio may or may not be, in a way, I don't think it matters, because I think it's going to crash and burn regardless. You see, Betrayal at Calth, whilst it can be played without VR, is not being marketed as a non-VR game. It's being marketed as a Warhammer 40,000 VR game, the first Warhammer 40,000 VR game. Within the greater mass of PC gamers, you have that small fraction, that niche of VR gamers. And then if you take the people who play 40k and also PC gaming, the initial audience for this game shrinks hugely. It shrinks down massively. Not everyone who likes 40k is a PC gamer. You know, not everyone who plays PC games likes 40k. One audience is significantly larger than the other, and I'm telling you now, it's the gaming crowd. It's not the 40k crowd. Then, if you take that subset of people who are interested in 40k, and then take it down to people who really love the Horus Heresy, and then you combine that with the PC gaming bit, you've got an even smaller subsection of people. Now, you take that subsection of people, and you get the VR section of the PC gamers, and see what the crossover is. I'm going to go ahead and guess that there is not enough of a crossover to mean that this game will even make its money back. I can't see this breaking even, let alone turning a profit, because it is drilling down through the layers. It is drilling all the way down to like the smallest crossover I can possibly think of. I mean, no, that's not fair. If it was like the adventures of unnamed Dark Eldar warrior in VR, then maybe that would be a smaller percentage of people, like a smaller crossover. But as it is, even based around Space Marines, even being 40k, there's not enough there. And yes, you can play it on PC, but there's already an issue with the marketing. There's already a problem with the marketing in that the headlines for this game are not Betrayal at Calth, the new PC game. The headlines are not brand new computer game Betrayal at Calth, or brand new video game, or new Warhammer 40,000 video game Betrayal at Calth. It's Warhammer's first VR game. Yeah, if you dig a bit, if you actually read the articles and you look at what the features are, you will see that there is things like multiplayer, that people who have VR can also play against other people who don't have VR. But if you don't do that, which a shocking number of people don't, the number of people who simply read the headline and move on with their lives is genuinely surprising, but there you go. They're just going to see a brand new Warhammer 40,000 VR game, and so the audience shrinks and shrinks and shrinks down to nothing. I'm not going to comment on the quality of it, like I say. Like, the trailer's been playing in the corner on and off. It could be great, it could be awful, but in a way I don't think that matters. I genuinely don't think it makes a difference, because I think in the build up to this game's release, the VR angle is going to be the one that's advertised the most. The VR angle is going to be the big seller for this game. But the problem is that the VR angle is a big seller to an audience that is so niche, that is niche within niche, that it's just not going to get advertised to anyone who will actually buy it. There might be plenty of people who will sit there and go, oh wow, a VR game for 40k, that's cool. Oh, do you have VR? No. I mean, immediately, that's one person less who is potentially interested. It is important that it's VR, but if they focus on that, then it's not going to sell. If they focus on it just being a PC game, I mean, it's a turn-based tactical game, so even then, that is yet another niche within a niche. Turn-based tactical games they're not exactly the most popular games out there, you know what I mean? It's just baffling, to be honest. It's one of those things where I saw it and I went, why? What? Why would you make that? Like, no one's going to buy that. The number of people who are going to, like, the number of people in that prospective audience are so small. No one's going to buy it. No one's going to grab it. No one's going to be interested in it. Or at least people who are interested in it, if they get the wrong end of the stick and assume it's just VR, they're still not going to buy it anyway. I will also add that it's an early access title. Now, unless you do very, very well, early access titles can have a severe issue where they basically blow their load real early. People want to get in on it. People go, oh my god, yeah, that looks great. I'll support that early access. Yes. They make enough money to cover development costs, maybe. Then the official launch comes through. But it doesn't matter because it's been in early access for 9 months, 12 months, 15 months. Your audience is already there. Your audience is already playing the game. Launch becomes a formality whereby the players who are already playing it now can complain about the fact that there are still bugs in there. I mean, a game that seemed to suffer from that for me was Mordheim. I thoroughly enjoyed Mordheim. I thought Mordheim was actually a really good game. But the growth that it experienced after launch was not what I thought it would be, or at least it wasn't what I hoped it would be, until I realised it's been in early access for quite some time. The prospective audience is already playing the game. You know, the release is not so much a announcement as it is just a formalisation of something that's been going for months and months and months. War for the Overworld was similar. Both games that I really enjoyed, but both games that post-launch didn't see a massive explosion in sales because they're brand new games that had just come out. They've been in early access for a while, and that tends to sap the life out of marketing campaigns for titles. Sometimes it's the only way to do it, but it also has its downsides. And for me, there's nothing but downsides to this. There's nothing but downsides for Betrayal at Calth. An early access VR game set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Well, set in the Horus Heresy. The audience just grows smaller every time you mention it. And I feel bad because I don't think any studio deserves failure, but I just don't see how it's going to sell. Anyway, that was a lot of of negativity. God damn. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it all the way through, I'd be really interested to hear what you think about this. This especially, I'd be really interested to hear what you think. I mean, are you one of the 1% who own a VR headset? Is this something you'd be interested in? Do you think there's actually more of a market for it than I've said? Do you think I've underestimated, you know, the crossover between Horus Heresy Warhammer 40k fans and VR owners, so on and so forth? Do you think the fact that it's actually still going to be available just on PC will make a big difference? Or do you think, again, like me, that pushing the VR angle might actually damage that in some way? Be really interested. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click any of the links, what you can see before you right now, be it subscribe, Patreon, videos, all of that, any of that, all of them would be preferable though. And I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.